Everything is recorded. Everything has stamps, signatures, budgets, and yet, what is described there was never really allowed to exist. When Mark, an analyst at the CIA, opens a file marked Stargate for the first time, he doesn't see spies. He sees sketches of secret places, drawn with eyes closed. Mark, name changed for narrative purposes, is filing routine reports when he comes across these pages. Coordinates, Soviet installations, and, stapled behind them, shaky drawings, isolated words. Dome, tanks, antennas. In the margin, a stamp. Non-conventional source. His boss tells him to forget it, to file it in the special archives. That's exactly what he can't manage to do. The file remains there, on the desk, like an anomaly that couldn't be eliminated. Leafing through, Mark comes across an older note. A single line sends a chill through his fingers. Remote viewing results deemed operationally useful in 1976. What strikes him is not the word viewing, it's operationally. In an intelligence program, that term doesn't appear lightly. Further on, an annex compares the sketches of a viewer with satellite photos taken the same year. Striking resemblance, according to the analyst at the time. And then another memo, terse. The CIA terminates its sponsorship. Program transferred. Mark understands he has gotten his hands on a piece of history that has never really been explained. The silence of the missing notes weighs as much as the words still visible. Mark leans back in his chair, the file open in front of him. He tries to align this with what he knows of his job. Hypothesis A, the reassuring one, comes first. Maybe all this was just a marginal test, a whim tolerated during the Cold War. A handful of slightly overzealous researchers, a few naive officers, some money thrown away in a climate of anti-Soviet panic. You give it an impressive code name, organize a few viewing sessions, fill in some statistical tables, then bury it all in the archives. A bureaucratic caprice, not an explosive secret. One aberration among others in a system that has seen plenty of them. This explanation reassures Mark for exactly as long as it takes to read the attached budget line, where he sees more than 20 years of successive funding, several agencies involved, and a dedicated cell at Fort Meade. The doubt thickens. Hypothesis B then imposes itself, heavier, more embarrassing. If it wasn't a simple whim, it means people high up believed in it enough to take risks. Mark reads the names. CIA, DIA, US Army. Different code names follow one another, from Gondola Wish to Stargate. He reads internal reports that do not speak of curiosity, but of a potential threat linked to Soviet parapsychological research, of a risk of strategic gap. He imagines the meetings, generals, deputy directors, seriously discussing telepathy. For them, it wasn't exotic, it was a possible strategic weapon. In this hypothesis, Stargate becomes the symptom of a fear, that Moscow might master something invisible, and that Washington might be behind. But the further Mark goes in the memos, the more one detail cracks this vision. The same officials who renew the contracts write, in black and white, that reliability remains problematic, and that operational usefulness is limited. That's where everything flips. Stargate was neither an assumed whim nor an assumed belief. It was something more unstable, a bet maintained despite doubts, because no one dared be the one to cut it off for good. A methodical hesitation, renewed year after year. Hypothesis C comes next, disturbing, cold. What if the heart of the story was not what the viewers saw, but what the agencies were really testing? An institution's capacity to handle information that fits no usual framework. The memos almost never talk about gifts. They talk about risk management, political cover, need-to-know classification. The reversal is brutal. Stargate is no longer a telepathy program, but a mirror held up to intelligence itself. And the question stops being, does it work? And becomes, how far can a state go when its fear of the enemy justifies anything? Mark closes the file for a moment. He realizes he's not just going to sift through strange archives. He will have to follow, step by step, the logic of a system that decided, very calmly, to open an official budget to look at the invisible. He waits. The sound of the air conditioning takes over the room again. Mark requests access to the physical boxes associated with the program. They make him wait. In the reading room, the air is dry, overconditioned. He runs his hand over the cardboard cover of a first binder, stamped Fort Meade. Inside, he expects to find neatly filed protocols. Mostly, he finds disorder. Session reports pile up, sometimes half photocopied, with missing pieces. One transcript mentions an important maritime target. The viewer draws a port, cranes, a large, dark ship. The analyst has noted, potentially useful information, to be verified. No following page says whether it was verified. Another session describes an underground facility, shafts, pipelines. Annotated. Partial matches with later imagery. Nothing more. The sentences often stop there. The yellowed paper crackles under his fingers. Mark keeps running into the same thing. Not a massive conspiracy, a gray area. The results are neither good enough to be celebrated, nor bad enough to be immediately thrown away. They float. They fill binders. They fuel meetings where no one wants to take responsibility for saying, this is useless. He comes across internal memos that exude this hesitation. A colonel explains that the viewers must never be the only source, but that their successes can't be ignored. In the margin, another hand has added, successes undefined. The vocabulary is icy, bureaucratic, but behind it he feels the tension. Shutting down the program means acknowledging that for years they funded something that doesn't meet operational standards. Keeping it means accepting being the person who defends clairvoyance in a room full of missile and satellite experts. The wall, for Mark, materializes when he reaches the years of transition to the CIA for the final evaluation. Entire documents are redacted. Whole paragraphs disappear under black bars. On some pages, only a few words remain. Utility. Not sufficient. Political climate. He understands without being told. They're not hiding a paranormal power from him. They're hiding trade-offs, embarrassing conversations, names. The frustration becomes physical one afternoon when he lifts a sheet too quickly and a bent staple tears the skin of his thumb. A drop of blood falls on the margin of a 1983 report. He watches that small red spot spread next to the sentence, risk of ridicule if program exposed. The risk wasn't only scientific or military, it was symbolic. Publicly admitting that they were funding telepathy meant risking ridicule for an entire chain of command. The red contrasts with the black of the stamps. In other files, Mark sees how this political context seeps into every decision. Budgets tighten at the end of the Cold War. Programs deemed marginal are put on the chopping block. The same words keep coming back. Rationalization, credibility, strategic priorities. Stargate often appears at the bottom of the page, like a line no one wants to justify anymore. And yet, the program doesn't vanish all at once. It changes names, oversight bodies. It folds itself under other codes. Gondola Wish, Grill Flame, Center Lane, Sunstreak. Each time, Mark senses the same maneuver. Move it, rename it, to buy time. To avoid the definitive sentence that would tip this project into either never happened or yes, we did it. The wall is therefore not made of burning secrets. It is made of one stubborn thing: the institutional fear of admitting that, for more than 20 years, they kept alive something no one really knew how to look in the eye. In a report commissioned by the CIA, Mark finds the expert's summary. Most agree that some remote viewing experiments show results slightly above chance, but too inconsistent for reliable use. Others, more nuanced, admit that the tighter the protocols, the more they seem to reduce bias, while reminding that the slightest information leak is enough to skew everything. All of them, however, stop at the same edge. They refuse to delve into what it would mean, politically and philosophically, to officially admit that a psi effect exists. And this evasion mostly betrays their fear of opening a breach that neither science nor institutions would know how to close. After turning page after page, Mark realizes he came searching for something specific, almost childish. He wanted to know whether, somewhere in these thousands of sheets, there was a clear sentence: yes, telepathy works, or no, it is definitely false. A clean answer, a tipping point. What he discovers is much more uncomfortable. Experimental reports from SRI and SAIC scroll before him. Score tables, correspondence matrices, statistical analyses. A series shows results above chance, commented on by the statistician, who sees in them proof of a real effect. Another one, analyzed by a skeptical psychologist, dismantles the robustness of the protocols and concludes that biases are enough to explain everything. In the final synthesis, the body in charge of evaluating the program writes in black and white that the data are intriguing, but that operational usefulness has not been demonstrated. For Mark, this sentence is the key. For years, he thought the story of Stargate came down to a secret hidden by the CIA, a spectacular truth that would eventually be confessed. The promise of the file he is holding seemed to be that. At the end, a total confession, a hidden truth revealed all at once. What collapses is this illusion of a simple secret. The CIA does not have a vault full of definitive proof of telepathy. What it has are boxes that document a long collective hesitation, occasional successes that are hard to interpret, failures often swept under the rug, expert debates that never converge. The confessions fit in a few dry lines. Yes, the program existed. Yes, it lasted more than 20 years. Yes, it sometimes produced data deemed useful. No, it did not prove that one could rely on it as an intelligence tool. Instead of the single revelation he hoped for, Mark discovers something darker and more limited. The ability of an entire system to function for decades with information it does not understand, simply because the fear of a potential enemy is stronger than the need for certainty. And when the geopolitical context changes, when the USSR collapses, the same logic that created Stargate closes it down without ceremony. The program is shut down, the file transferred, then declassified in pieces. No official shock, no spectacular mea culpa, just one more administrative note. Leaving the archives room, Mark knows that what he has read will never allow him to state that telepathy does or does not exist. What these pages show him is something else. The way very rational institutions can, under pressure, invest in the irrational, then withdraw from it without ever really looking it in the face. He then wonders if the real, hidden truth of the Stargate Project is not there, in that gray area that no one claims. He mentally closes the file on a question he does not write down anywhere, but that remains stuck in his throat. When fear and secrecy justify everything, who decides, one day, that reality must reclaim its rights? In the white light of the room, one page remains open. A blue felt-tip drawing shows a cylindrical structure, wavy lines around it, and a hastily written word, cold metal. Next to it, a grainy satellite photo suggests aligned tanks. At the bottom, in black pen, an almost illegible note. Correspondence deemed interesting, limited exploitation. The air conditioning hums, making the corner of the paper tremble slightly.